What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Ableton Music Producer Podcast. This is Dan Giffin. Today's episode is all about Max for Live. I was lucky to hang out with three brilliant Max users who also happen to be Ableton Certified Trainers, and they share their favorite Max for Live devices, how they use them, and there's a lot of good stuff in this episode. Heads up, I included a list with a link in the show notes to all of the devices mentioned, and there's a lot of them, so have fun. I also listed them in order as they were mentioned throughout the episode to make it easy for you to find. Hopefully I got all of them. Before we jump into the episode, these three guests include Melanie Frisoli. Melanie is a composer, sound designer, field recordist, trained audio engineer based in Montreal. She's the first female Ableton Certified Trainer in Canada and has over 15 years of experience in the music industry. She's also composed music for documentaries and theaters and plays, and has been working with Ableton Live since 2014. We also have Adam Fangsrud, who is a producer, engineer, sound artist. He's been an Ableton Certified Trainer since 2011, and he is the owner and head engineer at Red Sun Mastering. Also plays in the electric pop duo Flatliner. He also teaches Ableton Live and interactive hardware classes at Dadageek. Last but not least, we have Misty Jones, who is a Nashville-based music producer and assistant professor at Middle Tennessee State University. She's been an Ableton Live user since 2007 and is a talented remixer, performer, sound designer, and educator. She's performed at various festivals and conferences, including Ableton's Loop Summit, the Association for Popular Music Education Conference, and many, many other things. So excited to have all three of these people on the podcast today. It's a good conversation. Before we dive in, wanted to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Melodics, for supporting this podcast. It's a great company. They make that really useful desktop app that you can download and plug in almost any MIDI controller. It's a great way to practice, whether playing finger drumming or scales, or even plugging in your electronic drum set. Check out the free trial. Just go to melodics.com. Definitely worth checking out. I say it on almost every episode for a reason. If you haven't tried it yet, I highly recommend it. And if you decide to join their annual subscription, use the discount code LPO-20. That's LPO-20. Save some money. Also, I'd really appreciate it wherever you're listening to the podcast if you just like, subscribe, leave a comment or review. Would really appreciate it and help me out a lot. Also, if you don't own the latest version of Ableton Live, I'm happy to hook you up with a deal. Just go to liveproducersonline.com/buy Ableton and check it out. Without wasting more time, let's jump into today's episode with Melanie, Adam, and Misty. Well, thanks everyone for joining the podcast. Once again, kind of go around and talk about various Max for Live devices, some workflows, things that you guys have either made or that you use on a regular basis that you love. Obviously, there's 6.5 billion Max for Live devices out there that we could probably talk for the next 5 hours. But I think we could maybe start with Misty, if that's cool. I'd love for you just to share a little bit about yourself, maybe like 1 to 2 minutes, and also let us know how you got into Ableton Live and Max for Live.
Yeah, I am currently right outside of Nashville, Tennessee. I am an assistant professor at Middle Tennessee State in the audio program. So that's my day gig. I'm a professor. I get to teach MIDI and synthesis and Ableton and Live and controllerism, which is really fun. So that's my day gig. I got into Ableton Live accidentally. I was remixing around 2009. I stumbled upon Trent Reznor's Free Stems. And he used to have this remix site where anybody could remix his stuff. And I kind of stumbled into Ableton Live that way, just remixing, and got hooked and just have forgotten everything else but Ableton Live now at this point in my life.
Nice.
So when I'm not teaching, I'm having fun remixing and just doing, I love making weird electronic music. So that's kind of my realm of my universe there. So
Awesome. Yeah, I make weird electronic music. I think most of us do. So we're all in good company here for sure. Cool. Adam, you want to share a little bit?
Yeah. My name's Adam Fangsrud. I am a teacher at Dadageek, which is a Austin, Texas based creative technology school. And I do their a lot of their Ableton classes, but slightly weirder stuff like algorithmic composition and interactive hardware classes, stuff like that. I've been using Live forever. As far as Max for Live is concerned, I actually started, using Max standalone, which a lot of people probably do, way back in the day. And so it was a pretty natural transition getting into Max for Live. And in Austin, I was part of a group called Bit Voltage Sound Collective. And we sold Max for Live devices for a while. And now I'm just kind of developing stuff mostly for use in my classes. So really kind of like specific use case scenarios for like OSC communication with the Live API and just weird stuff like that. As far as my like personal practice, yeah, like y'all, I'm a musician. I play in an electropop band called Flatliner, and then I do like solo stuff as well. Some of my weirder stuff I just do as sort of like performance only. And what I guess you'll probably see when we start talking about it is a lot of the stuff I really like about Max for Live is some of the weird sequencing capabilities you can do with it, getting into weird kind of non-traditional rhythmic territory and that sort of thing. So yeah, looking forward to the podcast.
Hearing all that, I'm really curious some of the devices you're going to share with a lot of like algorithmic, weird, happy accidents.
Yeah.
Out of the four of us, I'm definitely the least experienced in Max for Live by far. So selfishly, I'm doing this podcast for myself as well, just to learn from you guys, all these other hacks and devices you're going to share in a little bit. But first, Melanie, do you want to introduce yourself?
So my name is Melanie Frisoli. I'm French, but I live in Montreal. It's been 7 years now. I'm pretty new Ableton Certified Trainer because it's been only 2 years. But I've been teaching it since 5 or 6 years, something like this. I was hooked also the first time I met Ableton, but it took me like 2 months to figure out the session view at the very beginning. Yeah, it was pretty weird when I was used to Pro Tools and Logic. So yeah, it was pretty weird at the beginning. But anyhow, I was a singer back in France. I made 6 albums and I was touring a lot. It was my job. And yeah, I kind of quit because I'm too old for this shit now. Too many gigs, my back hurts. And so yeah, I've decided to settle down here. Made audio engineering school in Montreal. And then I've been working in a post-production field, more like sound design for movies and stuff like this, or recording bands, more like a sound technician. And then I went back to school. Actually, I'm in a master degree at l'Université de Montréal here in Montreal, and starting a PhD in January. In digital music. So mainly I'm a composer composing weird electroacoustic music. I'm focused mainly on spatialization. So I'm working with a dome. Is it the right term in English? Like 32 or 64 speakers all around. And I'm composing on this setup.
Oh, cool. Some interesting surround sound work. Sounds like.
Yeah, 3D,
that's really dope.
Immersive kind of work.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I'd love to learn more about that as well. Also, yeah, shout out to you for the sequencer that I downloaded. You make a really cool, it's the Melody Sequencer or Mono Sequencer?
Oh, it's the Mad Step.
Mad Step, thank you. That's what it's called. Yeah, it's a really dope sequencer. I used that on a track the other day.
Oh, thank you. It's still, I'm still working on improvements. Maybe a new release is gonna happen in a few weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing, guys. Let's go ahead and dive into a lot of the good stuff. I know people will probably take a lot away from this episode, myself included, as far as learning some new Max for Live devices. We're going to break everything down by category, just like we talked about earlier. But first, I would love to know some instruments that you really love or that you use, or even if you've made one. We've got a lot to go through today. So maybe just briefly share a couple that you really love, why you love them, maybe even how you use them. Obviously, it's the podcast, so not everybody's going to see the video. In fact, most people probably won't. So just the best that maybe you could explain, and we can use our imaginations if you haven't used it before. So maybe let's go back to you, Misty. Are there any Max for Live instruments you really love or use or have built?
I will say I took a class in Max in grad school and learned just enough to lose my mind a little bit, but I don't usually build my own devices, but I'm a heavy user of other people's devices.
Same.
One of the instruments I am completely addicted to is Dylan Baston's Swarmolators T.
Oh, okay.
I love all of Dylan's devices. I've done tons of videos on them. I think they're fascinating. The Inspired by Nature pack that he did is unbelievable. I love the idea of all these randomly generative kind of instruments with the graphical kind of interface. So Swarmolators T I'm a big fan. It's just if you can kind of picture in your mind these swarming little oscillators. And one of the things I love to do with Live's new random macro variations is to randomly map all of those swarmolator parameters to macros and just randomly dial up completely random presets that I wouldn't have ever thought of. That's my latest fun trick with macro variations. That's like a game changer, I think, when it comes to instruments. So
Nice.
I love Swarmolators T. I think you can find it on maxforlive.com. I'm a big fan of that instrument, just generating brand new weird sounds that I wouldn't sit down and think to like design myself as a sound designer. I love the whole random idea, random generation of things that I wouldn't necessarily sit down and instinctively create intentionally. I love the idea of stumbling into things. And so that device definitely allows you to do that.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That's one I haven't played with yet. But I know Dylan Bastion is a mad scientist, and he's brilliant. The Inspired by Nature pack was really cool, and he did a seminar or a webinar with a bunch of certified trainers showing how to use that. That was really fun. So cool. Awesome. Thank you. Adam, let's jump to you. Any instruments?
Yeah, well, I'll have to plus one on Dylan's stuff for sure. In grad school, when I was doing stuff just in Mac standalone, I was really into evolutionary computing and deriving stuff from biological sources and everything. And I use this suite of Max devices called Life Tools by Bill Vaughan, but it hasn't been updated in like forever. And so I've always really wanted something like that in Max for Live, and I'm like not good enough at JavaScript to actually really do it all myself. And then Dylan came out with Inspired by Nature, and it's just like this amazing suite, cellular automata, fractals, ripples, just about anything. So definitely a big fan of that. As far as other instruments, if I'm going for like a traditional synth sound, I'll go for a hardware synth, but what Max for Live is really good at is the weird digital stuff, so anything granular, I'm a fan of. So Granulator 2 would be the obvious one.
Yeah.
And that's a freebie. But then there's a new one that's paid called Grain Scanner.
Yeah, that's really
sort
cool.
Of like Granulator on steroids. So yeah, if you want to like get a deep dive into the world of granular, that's a really fun one.
That's a deep dark black hole, man. There's some really good ones coming out too. I know Ricky Graham made a really cool granular synth. Drawing a blank on it. deltasoundlabs.com. But anyway, yeah. So any other instruments, or is that pretty much off the top of your head?
Yeah, that off the top of my head. I made one that I'm kind of fond of that I actually need to update because it's not working in the latest version of Max. But back in my bit voltage days, I did one called Rat Bass. That's just like a crazy pulse wave bass synth on steroids. That's a lot of fun. So
okay,
take a look at maxforlive.com. I'll try to get that one uploaded pretty soon here once I figure out why my line ramps aren't working anymore.
It's because you have a PC. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I loved my PC. I used to have one. It's great. Rest in peace.
Yeah, laptop wise, I'm definitely pro MacBook Pro, but like for my workstation, I like building my own.
Yeah, I'm not hating here. Melanie, any instruments for you?
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to be the last to tell about it because definitely fan of Dylan Baston stuff and huge fan of granular synthesis. Actually, the Emit from Dylan Baston is pretty good, where you can choose some part in the sample and you can make some walls so that the grains are gonna bounce against it. I have two more. I think they are paid, but they're freebie. But Bengal from Max for Cats.
Okay.
It's really a huge thing. I love the design actually because it's not on the. Well, you have to open an editor to work with it, so you have another window on your computer, and it's like a crazy FM semi-modular FM synth. Really, really cool with a lot of modular things, so you can more or less like plug anything you want between. And I love as well the dark synth actually, which is you can find it on the Ableton website. And because it's additive and it's pretty rare because we mostly use subtractive, granular, etc. But I think it's the easiest synth with additive synthesis inside, where you can really play with like 2048 partial at the same time and sculpt your own sound. Pretty amazing.
Yeah. No, I love Bangle. That came out a while ago.
Yeah.
I still have it. I need to pull it out and dust it off. It's been a while since I played with that. That's a really fun synth. I love that thing.
Pretty easy to use for a semi-modular FM synth. Pretty,
yeah, for sure. I taught it in a class a while ago as like an intro to like synthesis. So yeah, I think I agree. The user interface is really clean.
And you know, like the random thing from Misty, I really love it. And with this one, you can just change the algorithm. It's not the same thing, but and it's complete different sound. You wouldn't even have thought about it.
Yeah, happy accidents. We love those.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, additive synthesis is like one of the most theoretically powerful things ever, as long as you can get enough partials.
Yeah.
It's cool that computers are finally powerful enough to do it right, you know?
Yeah.
I look forward to the day when we don't even have to think about buffer size at all. Like it's just not even a thing. We don't someday that's going to be great, right? Cool. I would say granulator too. I think that's really fun. Also, I like it's just called bass. It's a Max instrument. It's really basic, but I just find you can get some really good, fat, simple bass sounds out of it. It's nice. I think it only has like 2 oscillators.
And the sync on there is amazing. The sync option that you can tie to the envelope is killer.
Yeah, the ring sync.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a fun instrument. And then the DS kick or DS drum series that used to be a Max for Live thing, and now it's built into Live 10, I think, is when they included it. But that was really, I love using that just for a kick drum, especially when you're at house music. The DS kick, it's so basic, but it just sounds great. You can sculpt it.
Yeah, and then you get like the Max LFO and connect it to parameters on the percussion synths, and then you're like totally going gangbuster.
Yeah, big fan of that. Any other thoughts on instruments that maybe you just thought of we haven't mentioned yet before we move on? That's it? Okay. I'm sure there's a billion others out there we could continue to go with. Let's talk about audio and Midi effects, and we could probably spend a lot of time on this. Let's switch it up. Special effects. Melanie, since you went last, I'll have you go first and share a couple.
Well, first it's pretty obvious, but I'm a huge fan of all the modulators, and now they are included in the audio effects in Live 11. So LFO, envelope, follower, especially this one. Shaper as well is pretty powerful. So they don't do sound by themselves, but it's really cool to add some movements into your tracks. I used to play with a very weird delay. I'm not able to really name it. It's like Chi-ad delay, something. With like DSCHIHA delay, kind of.
Sounds like it was named by a programmer.
Yeah.
It's a really cool delay with a lot of random thing. When you select a range, and then it's gonna random the delay time, the feedback. Sometimes the feedback freeze, and you can have really, really weird material out of this one. And I will name 2 other more, like Outer Spaces from Amazing Noises. I love those guys. They are in Italy, I think, and I think they made a really good book on Max called. It should be somewhere in my room.
You said it's called Outer Spaces?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Yeah,
Amazing
I haven't heard of
title.
this. Yeah.
And you just literally play any sound and you can just transform it into a huge drone, and you can modulate the drone, and it's really, really cool if you want to make like some ambient music.
Okay.
And they make the book Electronic Music and Sound Design, and it's about Max, and it's on Max 8, and really good book if you want to learn how to program in Max. And the last one I'm really fan of is Pitch Loop 89 from Robert Henke, which is crazy. I don't even know how to describe it in French. So in English, I'm like, okay, it's like a weird shifting device with, I don't know, you can make like, it's almost granular sometimes, weird delays. I don't know, just like to make some sound design. It's really, really amazing with the freeze button as well. Glitch effects. It works with pretty much any sound.
I actually pulled up on Ableton's website, and it says Pitch Loop 89, pitch shifting device inspired by the Publison DHM 89.
Yeah.
So I guess it's emulating that in some ways. Glitchy effects, digital shimmers. Yeah, that thing is cool. I've played with it once for like 5 seconds, and I need to go back to it.
Yeah, definitely go back. Dig into this one. It's worth it.
Nice. Any other audio or MIDI effects that you like or have used?
Well, MIDI effects, I mean, mine.
Yeah, no, plug it. That's what this is for, a shameless plug.
Well, I mean, the Mad Step is like it looks like a basic step sequencer, but the thing I think I've added is Rhythmic Random, which means each time the 8 steps are done, it's gonna choose random values, but you can lock some steps. So you can have like the four first steps the same notes, and then you can just random the 4 other ones. You can really choose what you want to random or not. So you can, because I love randomness. Really, I think randomness is life, but sometimes too much randomness can be a bit crazy. So when you need something a bit steady, but movement at the same time, so I think it's pretty cool. You can choose a scale, a root note, how many octaves do you want for the random, so you don't have like weird notes if you don't want to. And yeah, pretty much like it. But I also love all the probability pack devices. It was a few years ago now.
Yeah.
Probability ARP. I really love this one, or the step divider. Yeah. And maybe a last one for a guy called Alkman, which is I don't know how to say it, Euclidean Sequencer.
The Euclidean I was going to say that one. Yeah, that's a great one.
It's a good one.
What's it called again?
The Euclidean Sequencer.
Okay. Yeah. I'll check that out.
You can, you have like 4, it's a 4 voice sequencer, and you can have different length and different amount of notes during the sequences. So you can make like really beautiful melodies with a bit of polyrhythm inside. And for beats as well, it can be really, it grooves, but you're not able to say where is the one and why it's grooving, but it works.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun to play with.
Awesome.
To generate new ideas.
Yeah.
It's a circular sequencer, so it's using what I guess the guy who created it calls a rhythm necklace. So it's a totally different way of thinking about sequencing. So not only can you sequence using the Euclidean algorithm, which finds the largest common denominator between 2 numbers, so it's like dividing up steps based on divisions, but then you can like rotate the necklace, so you can rotate your rhythms against each other.
Interesting.
And weirdly enough, that algorithm can create almost every traditional musical rhythm out there.
That's wild.
It's pretty wild.
It's a better explanation. Thank you.
Oh yeah, no, I just had a class on it, so it's like fresh in my mind.
It worked out great. It's good teamwork. Awesome. Adam, maybe let's just jump to you next then.
Cool. Well, as far as audio effects, I really like the ability to sort of chop up and rearrange your audio buffer. So a lot of that sort of genre of effects. And I remember there were like some VST plugins and stuff that did that sort of thing back in the day, like Live Cut. I don't know if you all ever used that one, but super amazing for like live breakbeat chopping. But now with Max for Live, we're starting to finally get some similar stuff. Obvious one would be Buffer Shuffler, which comes in the Essentials pack, and that one is insane, like so cool. You can take any rhythmical idea and just totally rearrange it.
I use that for vocal chops.
Oh yeah, vocals. I mean, you can throw anything in there.
On drums, it's fucked up on drums.
Yeah. And sort of in a similar vein, there's a paid one. I saw you had Ned Rush on your show a few episodes back, but Nedit is totally crazy.
That thing's wild. He's making a newer version of that too.
Is he? Cool.
I think so.
Yeah, he just came out with a new album that's, I'm sure, using a lot of that weird sort of buffer chopping stuff. But I'm a sucker for that. I love it. And then, all the utility stuff is great too. But yeah, as far as MIDI, all the sequencers out there are pretty great. I was going to mention the Euclidean Sequencer, which is an awesome one. I think this is actually the most popular download on maxforlive.com, but Polyrhythmus by Benny. It was released back in like 2014, so it's been out for a while, but it's still, I think, the most flexible way of doing polyrhythms and polymeters. And not only can you use it on like percussive stuff, but you can also use it to trigger arpeggios. So you can actually have like a polyrhythmic arpeggiator that's triggered by your MIDI notes that you can play live. It's just crazy.
Interesting.
Really, really great.
I haven't played with that one. I think I'm the only one here that hasn't. So I've got homework to do.
Yeah, it's a freebie, and I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy. I highly recommend it for sure.
Right on. I'll check that out for sure then.
Mm-hmm. And then, the probability pack stuff that Melanie mentioned, I really love, especially the probability ARP.
Yeah.
So cool. Being able to like randomly go up or down octaves and skip steps and generate chords and all that.
And the strum is cool as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I use it a lot. Yeah.
Good stuff. Anything else, or is that the main thing for you?
Let's see. I think, as far as MIDI stuff, that's pretty much what I had there. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I do love the probability pack. That would be in my top one. You guys stole. All right, Misty, let's jump to you.
Yeah, well, some of you have already stolen some of my answers, but I'll kind of fill in some blanks here. You know what's funny is when you told us about this podcast, I tried to hold myself accountable of making a list of like the ones that I use the most or the ones I can't live without.
Yeah.
And honestly, the audio effect that I can't live without, it's pretty simple, but it's the Max Cut Hacker. Has been my go-to for I don't know how long, for just a very quick, it's basically just a gate. I mean, it's just a very quick rhythmic gate. And I love, I'm a really big fan of something I try to teach my students is you don't have to always hit your listener with drums just to give them rhythm, right? So what other ways can you build rhythm into your track, right? So taking that cut hacker and hacking up, a pad or a vocal. I love using it on vocals to get chopped vocals at different rhythms.
Awesome.
So it's quick, it's easy to use. It's a very small interface and easy, and I probably overuse it. It's probably a secret weapon that I'm telling everyone now, but I use it on any long sustained material. It's just a great way to break some rhythm up into just a great way to generate rhythm. And then Buffer Shuffle was on my list, but I have a weird emotional addiction to the original version. I don't know why. There's a couple of different differences about it, and I've just I don't know why. I always go back to the original version. I don't know why. I need the comforting orange lines that move.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's your first love.
Yeah. So it's my go-to. I love it. I'd say for MIDI stuff, probably my most used is a little a pattern generator. I'm getting into pattern generators. It's called Sting 64. Yeah, if you look on maxforlive.com, it's actually called Sting by Skinner Box, and he's done all kinds of stuff. He's got tons of devices on there, but it's just a really simple pattern generator, and it's funny because the interface is a smiley face, and when you click the smiley face, it gives you a awesome new pattern.
I love it. It's like a more kid-friendly sausage fattener.
Yes, exactly. If you're looking at it, yes, definitely more kid-friendly. But it's that simple kind of interface, right? Where, but I love it. When I first started using it, obviously, you're thinking, oh, generate MIDI notes, right? And so I was using it and constraining it with chords and scales, right, to generate things that were musically usable. But then I was like, well, let's just do it on random stuff. So I was throwing it on drum racks. Like I'll load up a drum rack and then turn that on and just let it generate completely random rhythms. And then, or on simpler and slice mode. I love it because it just generates random. I mean, I think Melanie hit on it earlier, but there's something exciting to me lately about randomness. And it's just, I guess after you've been doing this for a while and you get kind of old and tired of your habits, it's like, I just love accidentally discovering things. And so Max for Live devices that help me stumble into things or randomly generate things I wouldn't come up with myself are the most exciting to me right now anyway. So yeah, those are my picks, I'd say, for audio and MIDI. And the probability pack, I could say that too. I mean, it's funny because everybody's like saying stuff. I'm like, yeah, I like that too. So yeah, there's lots of good stuff out there.
For sure.
And the Sting 64, that's the name of the device. Makes me think about the Instant House.
Oh, that's also good. Yeah, Instant House.
Do you remember this one? It's kind of
that's a classic.
I don't know about this one.
Yeah.
That's a classic.
Okay.
Yeah, Haus. So.
It sounds exactly like you think it would sound by the name. Okay. Instant House.
Interesting. It's like, is it just like make
but
it
does
pump?
have a break. It does have a breakbeat button, so it can generate breakbeats too.
All right.
And fills and
crossing genres. That's awesome. Yeah, no, this is great. I've heard of a lot of these, but there's definitely some I haven't heard of. So I'm excited to go play with these later. Yeah, I guess it's my turn. If I had to share some audio and MIDI effects that I love, Max for Live, honestly, I think my number one is maybe not number one. One of my number ones is pitch drop. I really love pitch drop. Just like a basic, like you're slowing down, like vinyl, just kind of that, like it's what it sounds like. Just drops, transposes everything in time. And then the magnetic tape delay. That thing is really cool, but it's basically modeling the Roland RE201 and the Space Echo. And that came out before they made Echo and bundled that into Live 10. So this was kind of Echo before it was Echo, but it's a Max for Live device. It's really cool. And I think it sounds just as good as Echo, honestly.
Is it in dub machines?
Yes, thank you. It's in dub machines. Melanie saved me. Yeah.
I'm on Ableton right now.
There you go. Yeah, dub machines is part of that pack or whatever, but it's great. Magnetic. Also, as far as like a MIDI effect, there's something by a sound manufacturer called Scale-O-Mat. Basically, it's like all the push scales, but with Live 11, it's nice because we can see in the clip view, we can lock something into scale and you can see all the notes that you would program. But as far as inputting the notes, so if you were just to smash your head on like the push or a keyboard or whatever, it's only going to play the notes that you pre-select. And it has all the scales really easily laid out for you in the user interface. And then you can create a bunch of banks and jump around. So I love that. Scale-O-Mat. And then he also has I think Tim from Sound Manufacturer has Chord-O-Mat as well. So it's just the same thing. It's just generating chords. So I find that's a really great way for people to get quick results, especially if somebody listening doesn't have a lot of music theory. Also, the color limiter, I think, sounds way better, in my opinion, than Ableton's regular limiter, which is more transparent if that's what you want. But the color limiter, I think, is just fat and has a saturation knob in there. You can really make it sound distorted. It has kind of more of almost like an analog quality to it.
And
So
it's made by Amazing Noise,
yeah,
the same guys.
Yep, they're doing good things.
Oh yeah.
So off the top of my head, those are my go-tos. So now next category, let's talk about more workflow enhancements. Obviously, we could probably justify that everything we said was a workflow enhancement of some sort, but more of like utility kind of stuff. And feel free to throw out whatever you think of. Adam, let's switch it up. Maybe let's start with you.
Sure, yeah. It's kind of hard to categorize these sometimes. So I feel like I've kind of gone over some utility sorts of things,
Yeah.
but there's some cool ones I've been messing with lately in the connection kit. So if you want to like connect to databases or hardware or something like that through Max for Live, those are really fun to explore. I'm teaching a class for Dadageek. It's starting actually on Monday, but it's a interactive Ableton class. So I've been doing a lot of the OSC objects that are part of the connection kit, which are fun to work with. It's like communicating controller data and stuff over Wi-Fi, which is pretty slick. And then another cool thing with that is they have some, I think I'm saying this right, but JSON weather and JSON video, JSON. It's sort of like an online JavaScript database. So you can literally do things like have the temperature at your hometown influence like the filter frequency on a synth or something in real time.
Yeah, that's cool.
You just want to get totally nutty. So that's if you want to, get really deep and weird, but also just basic stuff like the oscilloscope, Like that's really handy having an oscilloscope. Or what else? I mean, a lot of the sort of controlling things like the LFO, of course, and the envelope follower, really, really useful.
For people who don't know what an oscilloscope is, can you explain it real quick?
Yeah, it just lets you view a waveform in real time within a certain like time window. And you can adjust the time window depending on like how many cycles you want to see. So it's just, like a useful way of actually visualizing your sound.
Yeah, especially for bass. I think that could be really helpful for subs too.
Yeah, and checking like phase and stuff like that can be pretty slick.
Yeah.
So those would be some go-tos from me.
Cool. Yeah, I do love the connection kit, and I've used, it's called OSC Send or Sender or something like that. Yeah, I use that quite a bit to like sending OSC into Resolume for visuals and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you're very familiar with.
For sure. There's a class at Dadageek on that too, taught by my buddy Kyle. He's like a total Resolume ninja, but the ability to send that stuff over OSC is huge.
For sure. Yeah. Awesome, man. Thanks for sharing. Cool. Misty, let's jump to you.
I'd say my go-to can't live without utility would be Multimap, actually, which is part of the Max for Live Essentials. I cannot live without it when I teach. I teach a bunch of students how to perform on push, and we use Multimap. Basically, what it allows you to do is you can put it on any track, and you can map any parameter from any other track onto that one device on any other track. So it lets you kind of have just one set of macros on one track that kind of pull in macros from all over your session. So it's just a way to very quickly make your live workflow efficient and succinct. And so I teach with it a lot when we get to that kind of stage of performing. I teach them how to use it, and I personally can't live without it either. That's probably one of my big go-tos. I haven't messed around with a lot of other utility kind of stuff. In fact, when you guys were talking, I was even looking through the list and I was thinking, gosh, do I even use it a lot for some other utility stuff? And I don't really. Most of the stuff that I do is either kind of on the creative side or the performance side, but I haven't messed around with a lot of the capabilities. I've heard about, and I've seen like the connection pack, and I've seen like the JSON weather stuff, and even the one with the camera, right? So you can turn your laptop camera into you can use that for, mapping and all kinds of stuff. And I just haven't gotten into it yet. But I know there's other stuff out there. I'm actually curious to see what else we go over, and I will kind of do some investigating myself. But I will say, Multimap for sure. For me, I cannot live without my Multimap. It's so valuable, especially when it comes to performance.
Yeah, I haven't played much with that, but I could see how that could be valuable in a lot of use cases. Melanie, how about you?
Well, it's a huge list because I think for me, Max at the beginning, Max for Life was all about utilities and how
Yeah.
to improve my workflow and go faster or imitate some behaviors from other softwares. Like the main example is like I was used to Pro Tools before, so I always had my hand on R and T, which are the zoom in, zoom out. And so I'm used to do that. My mouse in one hand and RT on the other hand all the time, with a quick access to Command Z, of course. But
Command said.
it's not a handful, to go to minus and plus to zoom in, zoom out. For me, it's like the other way of my keyboard. So I found it was like a few years ago already, a device called Jot Zoomer, and you can map any key command on zoom in and zoom out. So I have R and T now on my left hand. And another device I really love is it's called 1-2. 2 because the second version of the 1. And it's made by Yexel Raz, who is a Israeli Ableton Certified Trainer. And it's really great because you map this button to one knob, physical knob, and then each time you select a knob, it's mapped to your unique knob. So it's really fast when you work on some automations. You don't need to map all your buttons just once, and then you have any button you want for this one. I love this one really a lot. And I think clip gain, maybe you don't know this one. It's really crazy.
That is cool.
You know it?
I do, yeah.
Oh, and I made a joke with that on our certified Ableton certified group. But clip gain. It's basically if you make some key command with it. I have G on my keyboard now, so if I click on a clip and I hit G, I have the clip gain, so I can just move the gain of my clip without opening the sample view and on the bottom of my window. And a lot of things like lifetime. It's another Ableton Certified Trainer who did that. It's just basically a big timer for live, like a floating window.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
I used that before, actually. I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I need that.
Multimap, of course, and multi-analyzer, which you can compare the spectrum of 4 tracks simultaneously.
Really?
Yeah, so you can see where your bass stands and where is your kick, and if there is any frequencies conflict. It's Isotonic Studios.
What's that called again?
Yeah, it's a cool one. Multi-analyzer.
Multi-analyzer. So that's nice. Just select the tracks you want, and it shows them frequencies. Okay, interesting.
There's your track, and there are 3 drop-down menus, and you can just choose the other tracks you want to see on the analyzer, and you have different colors for all the tracks, so it's really easy to see which one is the bass, which one is the drum.
That's exciting. I'm going to be downloading that when we hang up for sure.
Like I think it's a paid one, but it's really not expensive.
Okay. Yeah, Isotonic.
Definitely cheaper than like Isotope stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I love Isotonic. Darren Cowley was on the podcast a while ago, who's the founder there, and he's a brilliant guy. Makes some really good stuff, or I guess hires people to make really good stuff.
Yeah, no, they're good. They're really good. Clifax, so maybe Misty, you use it for your class with the.
I love Clifax. I was a user back in with the free version. I upgraded to the paid version and have not even cracked the surface of it yet. There's so much new stuff. I thought the first version was deep, And then I started looking at the manual for the new one. I was like, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of CliffX. It just makes the impossible possible in session view for sure.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And I think now it's working on Live 11.
It is. Yeah, I tried it yesterday.
Thank goodness.
I did it yesterday because somebody posted in the Ableton Certified Trainer group a link in there. And I'll post in the show notes too if anybody's interested right now listening. But yeah, the free version, I don't know if there's a paid full version for Live 11 yet, but the free version works. Good stuff, Melanie. Thanks for sharing all these golden tips. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm a nerd, for shortcuts, and I like to be quick when I work. So
work smart, not hard, right?
That's right. Exactly.
or both.
I feel like I do a lot of both, to be honest. All right, I guess I have a couple I'd like to share too, if that's cool. One of the first is it's a mm.chain per scene. It's kind of a long name, but that's what it's called, mm.chain per scene. The whole concept is it's really for live performance, only in session view. And when you trigger a scene in session view, you just load this, and it's an instrument rack. It has multiple chains, and instantly, based off of the chain, you can like choose the chain you want per scene, and it'll immediately mute and turn off every device in that chain so it doesn't use your CPU. And when you chain scenes, it's really nice. Like if I'm playing guitar, I'm using like plugins like Helix Native Guitar or Guitar Rig, then it's automatically going to shut it off each scene if I have a different patch or preset for every scene as I'm firing through the set. That's a really good one. This was interesting too. I actually haven't tried it, but I've had several people on the podcast talking about Push that really love this. It's by Isotonic Studios. It's a custom push display. It's called P2D by Isotonic Studios. And it like hacks the actual display window on the push, and it shows the clips and the names of the clips as if you're looking at session view. So you don't ever have to change views and go to that session button on your push. You can actually just touch one of the encoders, and it automatically switches the view for you, so you can see session view and all the clips as it is, without having to change views on the push in your pads. So I thought that was really cool. I think it does a couple other things too, but I haven't dove that deep into it. Another one is Tempo 2, like the number 2, and it does smooth tempo automations. So you just choose how long you want the tempo to change if you're performing in session view and you want to launch scenes rather than just jumping tempo, which is really annoying sometimes. It does like a smooth transition and just slowly automate the tempo. And that works really well. It's pretty stable. Also the arrangement looper, because I do perform a lot in live. So I do both. If I'm DJing, I'm in session view. If I play with my band, I'm in arrangement. And sometimes I want to jump and do looping and improvise. And so arrangement looper by Ableton drummer, Toby Hunka. I love that thing. Makes it easy to loop around. And I'm surprised you guys didn't mention this, but Smooth Automator. Have you played with that?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
I love Smooth Automator. And Misty, you were talking about using macro variations. And, that was one complaint where people were saying in the Certified Trainer Facebook group saying, like if I do a macro variation, it just instantly changes it. It's like really harsh or like throws you off. So you can make very smooth macro control changes using that. And then CV tools for anybody using modular synths. Obviously, CV tools for the win. That could be really helpful. Mm-hmm. Those are mine. That's my stuff.
Did anybody mention Device Randomizer? I feel like that's a pretty awesome one too.
Oh yeah. That's a good one
too.
Oh, for sure.
Since we're talking about randomness.
I'm glad you mentioned Tempo 2, because I've just been using CliffX to get those tempo ramps on session view. So I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's super easy. I just leave it on the master. Or no, I think you have to put on a MIDI track. But yeah, it's great. I've got so many things to download later. Mixing and mastering. In whatever you guys want to share related to mixing and mastering, if you have anything. How about Adam? Is there anything in the mixing mastering realm of Max for Live that comes to your mind?
Yeah, well, Live comes with so many good mixing and mastering style effects, but one thing that Live does not have is a LUFS meter. So just loudness meter by Funkatronics is a really good one, because that's critical for mastering.
That's awesome.
You're trying to figure out your actual and perceptual loudness, and that's what all the streaming services and everything that people consume music through now all sort of do their replay gain and everything based on LUFS metering, which was originally developed, I think, for broadcast use, just standardizing program loudness for like TV shows and stuff to make sure like commercials didn't blast your ears. But it's like a actual perceptual model for loudness, because psychoacoustically, like the way we perceive loudness is very different than what like an SPL meter would show you. So that's a really cool one. So when you're mastering and you're trying to hit a certain target, you can finally do it.
Yeah. What was that called again for people?
Just loudness meter.
Loudness meter.
Funkatronic.
Cool.
Funkatronics. Sorry, plural.
Right on. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Is that a free one or is it paid?
I believe it's free.
Okay. I paid, I think, like $4 or $5 for Swiss Army meter. Have you ever played with that? It's similar.
I haven't messed with that one.
It's similar, but I use it. It does the same thing. Awesome. Is that it?
Yeah, that's the only kind of mastering specific thing that Max for Live gives me that Live doesn't with its devices,
Right.
Sort of like a critical one right there.
Yeah, for sure. Misty, how about you?
I'm going to kind of break the rules. I for most of my mixing stuff, I actually use a lot of just straight up Ableton devices, except for things like metering or visuals. Like I swear by, like, I use Insight a lot by Isotope.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kind of break the rules and throw a wild card in here in this slot and talk about video.
Do it.
So because it wasn't on the list, and I thought this is the other device. This is the other set of devices I can't live without, and they're old, but it's the visible devices, VIZZ, visible.
Okay.
I stumbled upon these in grad school when I was poor and I wanted to use video. This was like 8 years ago. I wanted to use video and I didn't have any money. I'm like, well, these devices are free. I'm like, you had me at free. So I started using them because they were free and they worked. And I didn't know enough about Max at the time, I was totally scared of video and Max for Live. And these devices worked. And so I teach with them still because I teach poor college students and they don't have money. So, and my IT guy loves me because they don't require any extra installs. They're just Max for Live devices. So, and so for right now, that's what we're using, because every time a new version of Live comes out, I cross my fingers. I'm like, please let Visible still work. And it still does. So I still use it. And my students use it because they can have it at home and they don't have to. I mean, I would love for us to use like a Resolume or something, but it's just not practical for what we do. So I love them. They're great for video in session live. It's just really very quick and easy to do, to just run an HDMI out of your computer and then boom, you're playing with video and it's happening. And so that's a collection of devices that again, like, I'm probably just lazy. Like, I know I could get in with Visi and Max for Live and probably figure out how to do it myself, and I just don't have time. And so I use them because I'm lazy and they still work, and I just love them. They're just still really great devices.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd throw that wild card in this slot because I can't talk about Max for Live and not talk about Visible. So I'm a big fan.
Good. No, that's good.
You can still find it on GitHub, by the way. If you just Google Visible, you can find the devices on GitHub to download, and they still work.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, everybody listening as well, all the things mentioned, I'm going to include a link to all of those in the show notes. So there's going to be a huge list if you want to dig and find that.
Good luck.
Yeah, right. Maybe I'll do it alphabetical or something nice and pretty. Melanie, how about you?
Yeah, actually, when it comes to mixing, I have to admit, a lot of third-party plugins and a lot of Ableton native plugins, but not really Max for Live devices, weirdly. Just to have like some old school sounds. Sometimes I can use like crap cassettes or maybe college dropouts, something like this. Okay. Or this guy actually made another one which is a multi-band beat crusher called, I don't remember, School Crush.
Yeah, High School Crush. High School Crush.
So yeah, when I feel like I need some old school vintage sounds, I go for those one.
Cool.
And yeah, let's speak about video. Good idea, Misty. Actually,
Yeah, good
I
call.
really am a fan of video sync. Have you heard about it?
Yeah.
Really,
Yes.
really great. I just teach this to a student, and I had not had the chance to dig into it, and was a great occasion to do that. And it's really cool, really fast to and you can play your videos in session view. So that's pretty cool, and add some effects and quickly map your music. Like he was playing guitar and wanted the video to respond to his guitar, and it was really easy to do with a envelope follower and thing like this. I'm really a fan of this one. Good
Yeah.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah. I know a lot of people really love video sync. I just haven't really dove into it. But
it's quick when you want to dig into it. It's not huge. Like don't be scared. It's really like a few pages to read, but it's nothing like a huge manual. No, it's really well explained, short and sweet, and it works pretty well.
Yeah, as far as like mixing and mastering stuff goes, honestly, I agree with you guys. Most of the time, I'm just using live native stuff or plugins, third-party stuff. But there is one, it's one of the more expensive Max for Live devices I've seen. It's called AS Console. And I think it was programmed or written in Java or something. It sounds very analog. And the guy that worked on it, I don't know how long it took him, but it's pretty wild stuff. It's got like a saturator and EQ and compressor and a bunch of things in it, but it does have like a really warm analog emulation to it.
So it's like a console emulator then?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's one thing that Live lacks. I use the Slate VCC for that kind of thing, but
yeah, Slate's great too. Yeah, I'm a UAD junkie in that realm.
Oh, yeah.
But for sure, they're all good. The other thing was, if you ever play with Transient Machines, that's a really, really fun. There's like a multi-band transient shaper in there that's really fun that I really love to play with too, to punch your drums or whatever. It's also using that a lot before Drum Bus came out. So
yeah, Drum Bus just blew the lid off of everything.
It really did. Not even
like
for drums.
One of those rare betterizer plugins. So you just like throw it on there. It's better.
Actually, now it's on my master directly. I have a Drum Bus
Really?
on
You
my
put on
master.
your master? Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm putting it on everything. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it was a secret.
Giving away all of your tricks now for free. Thank you for all that. Awesome. That's pretty much all the categories that we were hitting. If there's anything else that you guys want to share that you just thought of last minute, feel free to share it now. Otherwise, I think it'd be great for people to know the best place to connect with each of you. So maybe you share your website, or if you're on Instagram or whatever. Misty, where's the best place for people to connect with you?
Yeah, on Instagram, you can find me at Misty, MISTY_Jones. And I have a link tree there that has all my other links to my website and Spotify and YouTube and all that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Thank you. Cool. Adam?
Yeah, probably just my personal website. It links to all of the things, and that's just adamfangsrud.com.
Cool. Awesome.
You're going to have to write that one out, I think.
Yeah, no, I will.
No one knows how to spell my last name.
Awesome. Melanie?
The same thing than the two others. Just a website, melaniefrisoli.com. Like it sound, pretty much.
Cool.
Well, you can just check it out on the Ableton website as well, and there's link for Instagram, blah, blah, blah.
Awesome.
All the things.
Yes, and I'm excited for that new update too with Madstep. I'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. I've been a bit lazy because I'm working on my specialization thing, and the main idea of my future PhD is to create with Max for Live some instrument, but some spatial instrument. Spatial?
Oh, spatial.
Spatial.
Spatial and spatial.
Thanks for your help, guys.
Especially spatial.
And so like a granular with a 16 outputs. So it's pretty wild to do that in Ableton, since there's no multi multi-channel track.
Yeah,
Yeah.
multi-channel output.
I made
for the
it.
master,
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy, but it's gonna work, and like you will be immersed. Does it
Okay.
work? by a synth, and
Awesome.
so it's like I'm mostly working on this, but I have the ideas of the math step. It's all almost plugged, and I just had to put a few hours more, and it will be online.
Well, I'll be there waiting. So I'm excited.
you.
Yeah. Thank you. And thanks to all of you, seriously, for this podcast. I'm sure there's a lot of things people will be downloading and loving that you all shared. So much love to all of you. Really appreciate your time. I know you're all very busy. So I'll let you go, but have an awesome weekend. Have a great weekend. Let's definitely stay in touch.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot,
guys.
Dan.
Sure. Yeah.
Nice
Thanks,
to meet
Dan.
you all.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys too.
See you later.
See you guys. Bye.
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 Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. If you want to be the first to get new episodes when they come out, join the newsletter. I'll send you some cool stuff and other things to help you grow your skills producing with Ableton Live. And if you want to join, go to liveproducersonline.com/newsletter. Also, if you don't own the latest version of Ableton Live, go to liveproducersonline.com/buyableton. Happy to hook you up with a deal there. Also, for the month of September, you can get 20% off of anything on ableton.com if you just use the discount code LPO20 when you check out. That includes live software or the push or packs on ableton.com. So check that out. That's LPO20 for the 20% off anything code. Thanks again, everybody, for listening. Much love. I'll see you next time. Later.